I can't hear you because you're on mute. It's all good. It's all good. Ain't nothing like a little Chuck Brown that'll get you in the mood.
Hey, sounding good. What's up?
There we go. We try to handle this virtual thing, you know, making
right.
with the social distancing. How are you lovely people doing today?
Doing good. Just up and around and getting back to life and the new normal.
I know, the new normal. Let me let you guys know what's actually going on today. Today's show, I want to introduce you to my guests, professional men. So I didn't just go like, boom, let me go to the corner store and grab these dudes and say, hey, I got a question. I got a question. The girls don't listen and they keep asking questions. I keep doing things and I ask questions and it's mighty funny, especially on social media, where the women are answering the questions, but these are questions for men, but they're answering what a man thinks. So my first guest out of Nashville, Tennessee, yes. Mr. Roger Trent. How you doing?
What's up? Doing good.
Doing good. All right. Hold on. Wait a minute. That's so funny. I'm so corny. It's lovely though. It's lovely though. Right on up. And from the ATL, let's give it up to Mr. Lester Weaver.
What's going on, big lady? How you, everybody?
Hey.
And then right up north from Youngstown, Ohio, let's give it up for Mr. Ronald Shedd.
What's going on? You see, look, from our last show, I had to change because I wasn't getting enough natural light where I regularly sit, so it's causing all these shadows, right? But
okay.
From our last show, we talked about what men with Father's Day gifts and all that stuff.
Look at you with a record. Look at you.
Yeah. Fool. Hey,
listen, y'all gotta catch last week's show. It's hilarious because he's my co-host anyway. Rugo, the movie guy, Ronald Shedd. We gonna do Ronald Shedd because he's a professional today. Okay. But he didn't know what he wanted for Father's Day. It was like, I don't know what I wanted for Father's Day, but I'm tired of getting as seen on TV gifts. Right? You know what I'm saying? So look at Ron with the doggone recliner. It worked out.
I guess it did. And guess what? I didn't even have to. Oh, you see the head popping.
I saw her. Go, listen. Y'all already wifed. You guys are already wifed. So I see the wife back there. Yes. See, they know what they're doing and they got it. Women are winning. Now I gotta
that creeping. You see that creeping behind the.
See, that's what the show is about.
Pop out.
That's what the show is about. Listen, that's the first question. That is the first question. And she there. I see her right there. Here's the deal. I want to Roger. You know I'm like Tico.
Yeah. Either one's good.
All right. I met Tico many years ago. Many years ago. And what's interesting is I met Tico prior to meeting his wife. And we were cool.
Yes.
I met Lester, at the same time? Was it the same time? About the same time, college days?
It was college, that's for sure. That is for sure.
And the interesting part with Lester, I knew his wife prior to. I knew his wife prior to college, and then we went to college, and I met Lester at college. And when they met up and all that lovely stuff. So I know the people. And Ron, of course, I knew Ron prior to, since he was born, prior to him getting married. And my purpose for bringing that out, there are people, and all these questions came in, they came flooding in. So I was like, I got to get me a good panel to answer these questions, not just, like I said, old dude down at the corner store, hey, answer this question. No. Women are trying to win. Women are trying to find husbands. But there seems to be an issue, which thank God, I have never had that problem with but I don't know, because y'all got to tell me, where the women were jealous of a friend of their husband that was a female, that was of the opposite sex. I didn't have that problem, but I don't know. Y'all tell me. Look, they just smiling in my face. Look at Lester.
You may just not have been privy to the conversations back at the house. That's probably what it was. They were smiling while you were there. But when they got back home, there were some conversations in the car that might have been a little uncomfortable for bruh man. That's what it was.
And then y'all got married and I'm still chilling. Ain't nothing going on.
Well, no, there was never any issue, of course, with Lori, because y'all were family and knew each other way before. But in regards to other people that you may not know of, besides those of us on the panel, there may have been some conversations had for other gentlemen that you were cool with their wives. We were good. Of course, family on this side, we good.
Yeah. I've never really had that issue. Never had that issue on either side. You know, with her, having guy friends or me having female friends, that's just something that with us, it wasn't an issue. And and maybe because we were friends before, as far as me and my wife, we were friends before we got married. So, I mean, that element in our relationship wasn't one of the things that, that we argued about, or it was like, well, what you doing talking to her or stuff like that. That just wasn't in our relationship.
Okay. And that at the beginning, it wasn't. So Rugo, what about you, Ron? Did you ever have the issue? Do you have the issue? See, she's supposed to be out. Do you have that problem? And see, you are, let me do this. How long have you been married? For the listening audience.
It'll be 3 years in September.
3 years. How long have you been married, Tico? 17
years.
17 years. And how long have you been married, Lester?
Yesterday was our 23rd wedding anniversary.
Nice. Happy anniversary.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Congratulations. Now, do you find yourself at 3 years, do you find yourself having to ask questions as far as like, why are you talking to that female too long?
This is what I would say about that is that obviously I'm old as shit, right? So I got married later in life. And so there's like female friends I've had that for 25 years or so that I met in college and things like that. So it was sort of like, they talk about a blended family, it's also blended friendships, like, and those friendships to me are so valuable that I couldn't see being in this situation to leverage them, so that was a thing that was definitely an understood topic for us. Is like, hey, these are friends that I've had, since, since the mid 90s or what have you, we're not like, they're more of a part of my life than just like acquaintances that I knew at a point in time. These are people I talk to, if not twice a week, multiple times a week, you know what I mean? So I think the issue is like just establishing it, that it was a genuine friendship, a genuine platonic friendship. And I think what happens, the biggest thing I see that happens is that like 3 years is not a long time, and you're actually like doing your life and you're doing things, but then you might see somebody that right? And then you're like, well, who was that? And then you're like, well, hell, I can't recall every person I ever ran into that I ever had a relationship with, not sexually, right, but just a relationship with, right? So like sometimes it's just like the biggest mistake is not making the introduction. You know what I mean? Even if it's just cool, because it's stuff that I'm like kind of like just going through life, like how like Spike Lee just had the person just dragged on the cart when he filmed them. That's how I feel like when I'm going to the store, that's how I feel like I'm just going to see people, I wave and this and that or whatever.
And they just on the little roller thing.
Yeah, the little roller thing, But I think that was the biggest thing, is like, how do you just blend those friendships of multiple years, mm-hmm, and introduce someone that's really, because I only knew my wife for like what 4 years, maybe 4 years. Yeah, because we had married in 2017.
Don't mess it up now.
It was 2017. Yeah, so it wasn't a long engagement.
Okay.
So so it was just like, there's a lot of things. I mean, there was a ton of stuff we covered, but it's always the people that pop up that you don't go around with a tablet of people, right? At least I don't.
Okay, wait. You said y'all dated for 3 years and that wasn't a long engagement?
No. I knew. No. What I'm saying is we got married in 2017.
Oh, okay. And
but I'm saying like prior to that, we had a short engagement. Like I only knew her for 4 years.
That's not short.
How is it not short?
4 years. You talk about you old as all get out.
I knew her for 4 years in total. 4 years.
Oh, okay. Okay.
We've been married for I want to make these figures right. We've been married for 2. Look at these crooked ass figures, right? You know what I mean? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I'm like, now how long is an engagement before you actually know? And I'm going to start with you, Tico. Before you actually know that that's the one. Before we dig deep. How long?
I think it's.
Go ahead.
I think it could be different for everyone. It's kind of weird. Like for me and Donna, we were living in Pittsburgh at the time, and we had known each other maybe 2 years before we really got serious. But like, I mean, when I met her, I told my boy, she was, I was a praise and worship leader back then. And, I had talked to her and I told my boy, I'm like, dude, if she ain't talking to nobody, I'm telling you, that's going to be my wife. Like, I knew that automatically, you know what I mean? And then I seen her one day. I was sitting in the back of the church and she was working with the kids, and I just watched the way that she flowed, the way she moved, and I knew it. So it wasn't a long time for us, you know what I mean? I know everybody's different, but like I knew it immediately. I got some counseling ahead of time before we got married, just to make sure I wasn't just tripping and looking at that red dress and that wasn't taking me down the wrong road. You know what I'm saying? Cause
red dress will do it, honey.
Right, I'm saying, so I'm looking at the red dress, but I'm like, all right, I still got to be smart. So I got marriage counseling before, and I think that was a good thing.
Can she sing?
Yes.
See, I mean, I be wondering about that when you be in the church. It's like, okay, wait a minute, let me see. Do I have a list? like Ronald said, a list of things when you, okay, so I'm in the church and this is what I do. I'm a praise and worship leader or a preacher. And this woman sing, check. Because it seems like all the like first ladies and stuff, they can sing.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, okay.
but you know what? I mean, I think it was more or less her. She had a calm way about her, the way she worked with the kids, you know what I mean? Stuff like that I thought was attractive.
Okay. Same question. Lester.
For us, we met so young. I mean, I'm 48. We've been together 28 years. So we met literally, we were babies. We were sophomores in college. And we dated for 5 years before we finally went in and got married. So, I guess you would say on our side, the courtship, was long, but when you think about being that young and then we were in college, it took a little bit longer. We finally moved to Columbus. We started our first, true professional jobs as educators, and we just grew from there. Now I can say, unlike Tico, we didn't have the counseling up front. We had been together bumping heads from time to time, and smooth transitions in life, bump heads, smooth transitions. But no, we didn't have any counseling either. We just kind of went ahead and we did it. When we look back at things now, we truly can say we've grown a whole lot, together, literally, but in the beginning, wow. I mean, all I can say is, being that young and having to learn each other, and we weren't living in the same house. Once we got to Columbus and, she had her apartment, I had mine, but I was typically over there. And then next thing you know, we get married. It's like, okay, now, wait a minute, with my habits, I've never really seen your habits. You haven't seen my habits. And now we got to try to coexist. And there's no me going home if I get upset, or if I don't want, there's no home. This is home. Okay. But, nonetheless, it's 28 years, 28, wow. 28. So, wow. And 23 just yesterday, literally just yesterday. So I don't think it has to be long, but I am one of those folks who kind of, it's funny you have this question, Mel. I saw one of my other female friends on Facebook, I think it was 2 days ago. She said, do you think you can accidentally fall in love with anybody? And there was a lot of people saying yes. I said, no, you cannot. I said, you don't fall in love with anyone. You don't give energy, focus first, And if you give focus, you're giving energy, which then means you're giving them time. You've invested. You don't just fall in love accidentally. It doesn't work that way.
You say accidentally.
Right.
Accidentally.
And that was her question. And that's what a lot of folks keep saying, said yes. And the majority of folks in the thread who said yes were females. They were women. I'm like,
see?
I'm like, nah, that ain't how that works.
See?
That's not how that works. That is not how that works.
That's what I'm saying. Ron, same question for you.
Well, I get so caught up in what he was saying because he said.
Because we gonna revisit that because he get deep.
Yeah, he said something that I thought was key about like how you come together, right? And he was like, hey, I didn't live with her and all that other stuff, right? The thing that my wife is from Nigeria, and so there was like this culture. I want to. It was a clash and fusion at the same time, you know, because there was like a lot of things that just understanding things politically on both sides, understanding things like, you know, nutrition, food, entertainment, especially entertainment when it comes to the movies. But that's a story for another day. Like I will say, Nollywood is getting better, but in those beginning, ooh, man, I'll be like, man, let me go and do some damn homework. Is there an algebra test I got to study for?
Oh, God.
It was crucial for me. I was like, I can't, you know. But it was also then like too, you know, she came around the midst of the Marvel events and all that stuff. But it was just like this whole thing of just kind of like understanding. And for us, we did go through some intensive counseling. We went through this program through our church called Prepare and Enrich. And it was like, I think it was like 12-week curriculum. It was something like that. I know it was like
that's a dating.
Yeah. So it was important, but it was important, but it talked about stuff where I was like, man, the pastor want to know how, you know, the questions were like, I mean, everything from like planning a family to sexual behavior to finances, like everything was covered, right? And so what it was important to me that we did that prior to having a wedding date, because and Mel would be a witness. When I got married, I announced it on a Wednesday and got married on a Sunday. I mean, like it was like 4 days. It was like a short.
It was very short.
Yeah.
Hey, what you doing?
Like it wasn't like, you know, yeah, I didn't put a lot into planning the wedding. And just because like I asked some of my cousins who got recently married, I said, well, what took you so long to get married? And part of what they're saying was like planning that damn wedding, you know what I mean? Ordering all that stuff, getting all that stuff in order. And so I asked them, I was like, well, did you feel, did doing all that stuff make you, like, did it increase your love? Did it give you more stick-to-itiveness or whatever? Because I know for me, 10, 12 months of planning and arguing about that kind of stuff, I'd have been like, man, how about I help you plan the wedding and you marry him? You know, to somebody over there. I'll just help you plan, you know, like that's just, you know, I just think like it was so, when I talked to them about that, it was the energy and time that was put into that event. Like it almost seemed like they were happier just to get that event done than like from what I took from it, it did not increase or decrease their love for the person, but it was just, you know, they just wanted to have that event. So we put, and this was I know I'm all over the place with this, but this was one thing I wanted to say was most times I see people, they get married, they have a date, then they get counseling, and sometimes when they get counseling, it's on like a day, and so like it's like a formality. So you got the counseling as a formality because you knew what you wanted to do already. You know, at least in my situation, you know, I was like, man, I had 12 weeks of doing homework with this girl, man. Is this something I can fight through? And just going through those lessons and her dedication to doing it, my dedication to doing it, proved like how I think it was Mr. Weaver, he said earlier, like you got to work at it. So if you got somebody that's willing not to lax on something that may seem arbitrary to other people, it strengthens your resolve to say, I could be with this person because they have a stick-to-itiveness.
Yeah. Okay. Now, when you went to counseling, Tico and Ron, did you question certain things? Did they ask you, because you said 17 years, Tico, did they ask about the sex life? And I'm going to tell you from being out here, I already been married, divorced, look, 10 to life, I got on my good behavior.
Right.
But going to counseling, did something jar your mind and say, I don't know if I should do this? Did you have some type of some hesitation to say, oh, wait, I didn't think about that?
Well, for us, we were becoming a blended family.
Okay.
So there was some questions in there that had me like, oh, I didn't think about that, and, how we're going to handle, her kids, my kids, and, how all that works out. And then this baby's daddy, my baby's mama, how's all that come together? And so that was something that really made me think. Now, my wife had 5 kids when I met her. I had 2 kids, and they were babies then, and so it was a lot to take in and say, okay, is this something you really want to do? Because, 3 years from now, 4 or 5 years from now, you know what I mean? The red dress is gone and you got to deal with some real issues. You know what I'm saying? How are you going to deal with these things? And I'm so glad that those things are brought up and talked about, and one thing I'll say this real quick that I remember was that she said, when they were younger and their parents blended, they never allowed them to say my stepsister or my stepbrother. They said the only steps allowed is the steps in this house. And so we took that on because our kids were small. Now I know when they're older, different situations, but our kids were small. So we adopted that. And I tell you what, that worked because they've always called each other brother, sister. It was never your kids and my kids. It was always our kids. And that was a key thing that was brought out that we stuck to, we agreed to. And it really helped us to really stop from falling into some of those pit holes that other people fall into with blended families.
I'm glad you said that. Now let's go with Lester. Mother and father of your 2 children, same people. How did that work when you woke up? Look, when they came, you're like, what? I'm a parent.
Well, I'll say this. Lori Weaver was strategic. I'll say that first and foremost. Like, she knew. Okay, Lester, because at the time we're in Columbus when Logan is, shall we say, first being conceived, when we were working on going half on the baby. I was working, of course, was teaching, coaching high school football, but at the same time, I worked for Time Warner Cable. And so I was going all around the city, to help them swap out the old cable boxes, put the new ones in when everybody was going to Universal Remotes. And I'd get a beep. Yeah, I'm telling my age, a beep. On my beeper.
Pager, not the pager.
And we all look like, yeah, we know what that is, the new generation.
Like, huh? What is that? I get a page and she'd be like, hey, you need to come home. I'm like, okay. Get in the house. She's like, I'm ovulating. So everything was planned.
Okay.
Let me just put it that way. It was planned, which was good. It was good. Now, the only thing is, no one gave us a manual on how to be a parent. And our first child, Logan, the Gemini. But, love it to death. That's our baby. So it was all planned out. Jokingly, we always talk about how no one taught us how to be parents. And actually, no one taught us how to survive in our marriage either. I mean, you really, really look at it. I grew up in a blended household. My mom and dad, they got married young. I think my dad was 20. My mom was 19. They were divorced before I think I was a year old. Mom remarried, Air Force man. They were married long enough to have my 2 younger sisters, and then they divorced. We moved to Florida. My dad remarried where he was, and I've got a few other sisters. My wife, kind of the same thing. Her mom and her dad never married, but had her at a young age. Then she did get married. So it was when we really look at it, and I think there were some times in my life where I actually was trying to possibly sabotage because it's what I had seen in my own household so many times.
Mm-hmm.
And, but, again, I guess I'm gonna keep saying it, 23 years later and 28 total, we managed it. Same thing with being parents. Just, we learn to give each other enough space to bump our heads, sometimes be mad at each other, but never be spiteful enough to just walk out the door without still saying, hey, I love you. We've been together long enough. You're my friend, you're my buddy. But yeah, it was being a parent wasn't hard for me because, I'm the oldest and I'm the only boy of 5 that I grew up in the house with. So
so you could relate to all the.
Yeah, I'd been changing diapers. She ain't never had to worry about that. Like we literally had one night was her night, the next night was my night, and it was no problem. I got up, I do the bottles because I had done it with my younger sisters forever. That it was no big deal. That wasn't a real difficult transition for us, other than just the finances. Diapers, I remember they were expensive.
I was happy to be done with that. I know.
Yeah, and daycare. But other than that, it wasn't very hard. And Lori's so nurturing. It wasn't hard. And I guess my background and my upbringing made it that much easier as far as being able to handle a third person that was a part of the family.
Okay. So Ron has one son prior. Go ahead, do yours, and then I'll go with the next question.
My son is 24 years old, and so he got him.
He was 24 when you got married?
No, he wasn't 24 when we got married. He was like 20, 21, okay. On the brink of 21, because he'll be 25 this year. So that really wasn't an issue really as much. It was important that they had a relationship, but I don't think it wasn't like a situation where she had to rear him. You know what I mean? It was more or less, you just got to connect, right?
Okay.
And when she introduced him to the culture, and I keep saying food because she likes to cook and she makes all this stuff, right? So they were able to connect like that way. They shared that aspect of her culture, But I think that for her, she's always just flat out accepted him as her son.
Because they're just like Ticos.
Yeah. So we didn't really have to go through, there wasn't any concern about that, because he's in college, he's living his own life and that sort of thing. I think what she had to understand though was, I remember early on she said, well, you don't really talk to him as much as I think you should, and all this other stuff. And I kind of got pushed back about that because she talks to her family a lot. And I understand that. It could be distance, it could be just what the relationship is. But what she didn't understand, what I was doing before that, was giving him the opportunity to work through his own issues and problems. And hey, if you need me, you got my support. But if you feel like you want to work it through yourself and you understand, and you just want, you don't want me, I didn't want to be the parent that was overbearing and not giving him the opportunity to be able to come into his own.
Let me interject this. For those of you who don't know Ron reared his son.
Yeah.
So he reared him. So he was the single dad. And I'm just going to put it out there. So that's the difference versus what you see now, where you might have a father that's kind of active. And then, and then her coming in, I don't know her thoughts, but I'm saying her coming in saying, you don't talk to him as much as you think, that I think you should, when he reared him from a baby. So he was the single father. Okay,
yeah, go ahead. And a lot of that is like this, you put, some of it is okay, I don't know if y'all ever put together a kite or anything like that, right? You put together this kite and then you put it in the air, and then it's kind of, once you get that string, what happens? You get that air, it catches, that child grows, right? And that's that air pushing the kite as the child up and up. But what happens? That string gets longer and longer and longer, and the kite gets higher, whatever. But you still have that connection through the string, even though you let that kite fly. You know what I mean? And I think that was the thing that she didn't understand, because, here,
that might be a maternal thing, though. Because I think it might be a maternal thing, because honestly, even with my husband, I didn't think that some of the stuff I said, no, I'm let me pick him up, let me nurture him, now let him fly. I'm like, no, that might be a maternal thing, where the fathers are like, let him soar, let him do. We be like, call me. Like, you know, or where? Like, where you moving to? You know what I mean? So that might be like
it might be, but you know, one thing I always said about young men, I say all young men need an adventure, right? You know, whatever that is. What I'm basically saying is they all need an opportunity to be able to explore what it is they want, what it is they want to explore or see or do or whatever like that. And to do it sometimes without necessarily having a person that hovers in a way that is intrusive to them developing how they interact with the world, you know? So for me, it was like, hey, I did all this training and tutelage and all that stuff from day one to this day. Like I was like, this was all the preparation was for, you know, like you're ready. You know, I remember shortly, there was a time where we were, me and him were having a conflict about how he was going to live off campus or whatever. And so he explained to me some things and all this stuff. And I ended up buying into what he was saying because he was right. You know, he was right, but it went wrong against what I thought, right? So I remember, like, because this is a conversation she overheard, and this was a couple months or so after that. And I said to him, I believe that if I died today, you would be okay, right? And she was like, well, why would you say something like that? And I was like, because I want him to know that I have belief in him to make the right decisions, you know? And so like, that was the—
Hold on 1 second. Yeah. Opinion. Go ahead, Lester. Do you believe the same thing? As far as like rearing.
Well, I can agree with Brother Shad, because to an extent, my mom and we don't talk all that often, but there's no need to. I mean, there's that same understanding, but it's with my mom and my dad, especially once I got to college. And I mean, maybe it's because we got to that habit because long distance used to cost.
Yeah.
Right. And so I was from Tampa, Florida. I'm up in Youngstown, and my dad's in Indianapolis. So we just weren't going to pick up the phone and talk all the time because it costs. And I knew my mom was, you know, although she was married, my stepdad, who she was married to then, he was a street hustler. He was in jail. And so she was primarily a single mom most of the time with my 4 younger sisters. I wasn't calling home to make the bill big on her, and I'm living on Pell Grant money, so it's not like I got a whole lot of money. So I wasn't calling her, and I wasn't gonna call my dad all the time because, Dad, I need you to know I'm growing into my manhood. I don't need to call on you all the time if there's an issue. So, as Ron was just saying, if I've reared you enough, and I believe I've given you solid foundation, there comes a point you have to let go. You have to just trust that they're gonna follow what you've already undergirded them with. And when they don't, you have to let them bump their heads. And when they bump their head, you got to let them bump their head. Literally, you just have to let them bump their head. You can't save them. If you do, they'll never learn. And I've said this for years since I've been teaching now. And I teach high school, and I come across all these young men and young women. But many of the times there's a single mother or a single father. I've seen that way more lately now, like Ron, you know, how he reared his son. And I tell all of them, because they'll come to me like, I'm having issues, I can't get this. I said, listen, all you can do is trust in what you've taught them and be consistently fair in how you come about, if the need arises, to give a penalty, a punishment, a consequence. I said, that's all you can do. Because when they get to the age of 9th graders, 13 years old, 14 years old, they don't believe everything you say anymore. And there are all these other little people around them that start talking and become more impressionable. They want to, be, they want to be liked. They want to be in the crowds here and there. And you can't influence them anymore. All you can do is trust them, show them that you love them, and be consistently fair. Mm-hmm. And in that, I don't find it difficult. Like Lori, she's probably upstairs listening right now. She could attest to this. You may hear a shout from the pews in a moment. Logan is in college. She's about to go into her senior year. She's got her own apartment. Logan says it all the time. I need to call my daddy more, and she doesn't have to because I know she's fine. But Lori gonna hit her 6 times a day. But Lori's family is that way. Lori talks to her mom 4 or 5 times a day, and she lives 17 miles from us. But it's just the difference. I mean, I'll talk to my pops once every month and a half, 2 months. We'll text once or twice every 2 weeks. Same thing with my mom. I call mom a little more often than she'll call me, but they both trust with me being the oldest and that they did enough that I'm okay. And they know I know that if I ever have an issue that's big enough, I can reach out to them. But it's part biological, like you said, but at the same time, it's also, I think it happens way more with female or girls than it does with boys. Cause you're like, he'll be all right. He fell and scuffed his arm, but he'll be all right. He'll get up. You don't want the girl to have the scar at all. You want to stay firm and proper, And so, but I think when it gets to it, no matter what, when Landon leaves to go to college, Lori's going to call him just as much as she calls Logan.
Make sure
I'm gonna be just the same. I'm not gonna call too much, but that's that yin and yang between us. And the kids will say it, I need mommy, but then they'll get like, oh, mommy, can you stop? No, don't call. And Dad, can you get mom to cool down a little bit? Because but it's the yin and the yang, So I can definitely agree though. I mean, especially coming into a blended family, I can see where that would be different, as Ron said. Could definitely be different. And his dynamic as well was different because he was the single parent who reared the boy. Mm-hmm. And in comes his wife. She's saying, that's a whole different dynamic because, it would be different if it was a woman, because the woman would want to do it and then you wouldn't want him to interject too much. But here Rod is trusting how he's raised and reared his son, and the woman wants to say, no, you need to talk to him more. Ooh, that kind of would have definitely been different.
I want to get Tico's take on that, especially with the blended family.
Yeah, with my kids, I always said that if you are a father to your kids when they're young, you can be their friend when they're older. And my sons and my daughters, when they got around 16 years old, I started at that point to let loose a little bit more. And let my guards down more and show them more different things. And we began to be friends by that point, And so as they got older and went into college and went into the military, some of them I was able to completely let fly. And some of them I had to keep, my reins on. So like one of my sons, when he was 16, I noticed that he was, in that mode of all I want to do is play video games and nothing else, And so I said, dude, I'm going to tell you what, all right, you're about to be 17. Downstairs is your apartment. I'm going to loosen your reins, give you a little more to do what you want to do. And, but you got to take care of this like it's your apartment. All right. And you got to figure out what you're going to do when you get out of school. Yes, sir. I got you. Yes, sir. I got you. Oh, this is great. I get to do more. I get to stay out later. Nice. Man, that boy sat in there. That room was a mess. And I had him sign a lease. Okay. I had him sign a lease. We did an apartment contract. I did inspections. I said, listen, you're about to get kicked out your apartment, bro. You're going to have to work this thing out. You're going against your lease. What's the stuff on your balcony? And, through that, by the time he graduated, he wasn't doing much better. And he wasn't sure what he wanted to do. I said, dude, you're going to have to find something. You can't sit in my house and play video games. This ain't going to happen. You got to be a man. And it was tough, because I did one of those kick you out of the nest, because, it was kind of kick out of the nest, but not really. He went into the service part-time. But through that, although it was tough, he did learn to fly. He did get out there on his own, got his own apartment, got his job, got, like I said, he's part-time military. But, he did that, and he calls me and asks questions. Well, Dad, how should I do this? How should I do that? And sometimes I'll give him my advice, and sometimes I'll say, you know what to do, make it happen. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Each one is a little bit different, though. I notice all my sons, all my daughters are all different. I have a daughter who's very, go get it after everything. But she calls me all the time. You know what I mean? But she told me, she's like, Dad, my credit score is going to be this. You know what I mean? By the end of this year, she called me a few weeks ago. My credit score is, you know what I mean? Or I'm about to get this house. What do I do this? You know, she's very driven. She calls me all the time, you know, but with her, I usually say, you know what to do. I don't give her much advice, you know, so each one is different, you know, some I just let fly. Some I try to hold on a little bit more and give a little bit more of myself if they want it, you know.
Okay. Now, what does Donna say?
Now with Donna, she pretty much, you know, she's with it, you know what I mean? Because, you know, although she'll like the other gentleman was saying, she'll call them all every day. You know what I mean? If she can, she'll be on the phone, you know what I mean? Well, maybe you should come home. Now with my youngest son, you know, what I was talking about with him, the video games and, you know, time for him to leave. Now, biologically, that's her son. You know what I mean? So she was like, ugh, you know, she was torn.
That was my question. Like, how did she react to that?
Yeah, she was torn, but she said, you know what, I trust your judgment on this. You know what I mean? She was like, I don't want him to be a statistic. You know what I mean? You know, we had sons who went out before him that were doing good, you know, and we didn't want him to be that statistic. So she agreed with me, you know what I mean? And she allowed me to have that space, you know what I mean? Because she trusted me. Now, if we wouldn't marry that long, you know what I mean, it would be different, you know what I mean? But, you know, I had him since he was like 5 years old, you know what I'm saying? So there's been a certain amount of trust built up over the years for her to be able to have that freedom to say, I trust what you're going to do. You see what I'm saying? I stayed consistent through the years. Like my man was saying, you know, being consistent with showing love and discipline together equally, balanced. You know what I mean? I hug my kids, all of them. I tell all of them, I love you every time I see them. You know what I mean? But there was a balance all the way. So when I say, dude, you got to get yourself together, or you got to roll, it wasn't like, you know what I mean, you're always beating me up. You know what I mean? It was like, I know, Dad, I got to get together. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I think with that balance and the fact that I've proven to her over the years that she could trust me with that, I think that's what made it, you know, easier.
Okay. And in your counseling, they went over that with the blended family? Did they go over parts of it?
Yeah. Well, they talked about us being on one accord about decision making, you know, and I'll tell you, the first year was tough. I mean, I didn't think we were going to make it that first year because there were a lot of people interjecting. Well, y'all should do this with them kids. How you going to let him do that? How you going to let her do that? That's my nephew. Like everybody was coming in, you know what I mean?
Outside family.
Oh yeah. There was so much outside, and we ended up moving. You know, we were in Pittsburgh where everybody was there. We moved to Tennessee and wasn't nobody there but me, her, and the kids. And we had to come to agreement. You know, what we do in the bedroom, what we make, decisions we make is what we're going to agree to. We're going to stick with it, come what may. And the calls will come, be like, look, Mama, I love you, but we are together on this decision. This is what we're going to do. We stuck with that. If we didn't, it would be over. I promise you. You know what I'm saying? I know it because I know how we both are. But because we both stuck with it, man, we raised some lovely, lovely kids, you know, that just great kids. And they don't call us, you know, stepmom, stepdad. It's daddy, mom. You would never know. We're all even starting to look alike. So, you know. You feed them long enough, they start to look like you. So,
okay. Now, with you, Lester, is your family down there with you, or did you and Lori like separate from everybody?
Actually, when we got here to Atlanta, we reunited with family, meaning just Lori's mom. Because you remember Lori's mom. Yeah, well, you know, everybody, everybody worked at Lordstown, and when her mom got remarried, he lived here in Atlanta and he worked at Doraville General Motors plant. Okay. And so she relocated down here to work at Doraville. Lori's younger sister, you know, Lisa, went to high school here. We came down. She said, y'all need to come down here and interview for a job. We came on a spring break interview and they hired us on the spot. And so we went back to Columbus and told them, hey, listen, we're not renewing our contracts. We're relocating and moving. And we lived with T-Bird, my mother-in-law. We lived with her the first 6 to 8 months once we got here, and then we built our first house. We moved in. So we reunited with family, and then when we moved and built our house, literally, you could throw a rock from her mom's house to where our house was if your arm was
How does that
enough.
work for you?
It wasn't bad at all. T-Bird's never been, shall I say, heavy-handed. She's never been a heavy-handed mother-in-law at all. So they communicate. I've never been one to see or feel like my mother-in-law is talking to my wife, which is her daughter in the background, like, what's he doing? I've never had that.
A Mama Joyce off Atlanta Housewives?
Nah, I've never had the Mama Joyce off Atlanta. No, I've never had the feel of that from her at all. She's always been supportive, showing me love, even when we were dating in college. I mean, I don't never had that. So the crazy thing, the issues that we had being reconnected, it wasn't T-Bird. It was her husband. That's when we clashed. Me and that man did not. That's why I was glad when they built our house, we had to go, because me and him, it almost got ugly a couple of times. I'm like, nah.
So do you think it probably got ugly because it was two men in the house?
He was, how can I say it? All right, here's the best way I can give you examples and you'll get it. He came to help us move from Columbus to come, right? He was all happy in this talks up tour. We're looking forward to y'all coming. T-Bird's happy. She's going to be so happy to have her daughter here. Yada, yada, yada. Y'all going to love Atlanta. He comes from Atlanta to Columbus, Ohio to help us move. And when we start moving, I guess it hit him. And he's moving our fragile stuff and he's just throwing it. I'm like, hey, I got it. So I started noticing that he was upset that we were coming because he wanted to keep her all to himself.
Okay.
So he was stingy, I believe, because he didn't want to share her. And then he also now didn't want to share his home. And so he would set like little rules in place that were like just crazy. Like, you don't put anything in the washing machine or dryer after 9:30, because if it doesn't finish till 10, I'm asleep. And he's walking around.
So he will.
And the dryers, but don't put nothing in my washer or dryer after 9:30.
Which is crazy, because if you wash off peak hours, you save energy and it's a less expensive bill.
And this was a frugal cat, but this is not what he wanted to hear, right? And we happened to notice, we caught him one day. Logan was only a year old. We caught him one day. She walks into the kitchen, turn around, and he actually growls at her. Like,
at the baby?
At the baby. I'm like, hey, they got to build this house a little bit faster, because this ain't gonna work out. But I mean, never have I had any issues with T-Bird in any way, shape, or form at all. Not once. She even lived with us after they divorced. She came and stayed with us for a little while she was, getting everything situated to move into her home place again. I've never had anything but love from T-Bird from day one, to be honest. I've never heard the whispering ear where Laura come back and say this or say that. Well, Mom, of course. Does a grandparent want to tell you how to parent your child? Yeah, from time to time. It happens, but me and Lori will take some of it in. You got to sift it. You got to use a sifter. Some you take in, some you don't. And every once in a while, you got to actually just go ahead and close the door. Like, hey, we ain't listening to you right now. And we haven't had to do that very often. It's never been done in an ugly way. But sometimes I'll just leave the Lord like, hey, babe, this right here, we got to just take care of this on our own. And, she handles it. But me and T-Bird, never had any problems with that at all.
All right. We're going to pull it on back just a little bit. Here's my next question. Jealousy, because since we're doing open and honest, real quick. Have you found yourself being jealous of the baby? Because you see, Ron don't have those issues because his child is grown. So he don't have those issues at all. But you and Tico, you got, okay, well, what about me time? Where the father actually feels like she's spending more time with the children. Go ahead, Tico.
Oh, yeah. Especially when we first got married, because she was used to having all the kids for herself. So they would all be, all in the bed, you know what I mean? And busting in the bedroom, like that was like a normal thing, So and all day, every day. So, when you first get married, it's like, all right, when is my time? You know what I mean? It's like if one more kid popped their head through that door, you know what I'm saying? But even though, you gotta have that feeling and, being young, getting married, you learn how to say, okay, this is our time. Like we were strategic, you know what I mean? Because I brought it to her like, hey, when do we have our time? You see what I'm saying? That we are together. And we were strategic by saying, okay, this is when we do it. You know, we told the kids, don't knock on that door at this time, between this time. Don't knock on it unless there's an emergency. And they didn't, you know. And once we were able to do that, then, you know, it was good. You know, that worked.
Did you have that issue, Lester?
No, actually, I don't remember ever having that problem. That might be a question that would be better for Lori. Lori may say that I was doing things because, like, you know, me being an athlete, we met and I was playing football in college. Then when we leave, now I'm coaching high school football. I got games. I'm still actually working for Time Warner Cable part-time too. So, you know me, they say, Lester, you must have some Jamaican in you. I always got multiple things going on, right? So Lori may say more so that, no, like 10 man, 10. So, but she would probably say that there were some times where maybe I would have needed to be there more, but I don't think it was ever because she didn't have time to get relaxation. Because like when I was doing the things, like I said, working the time when I came, it was me working, it was making, you know, money for the family. But then when we kind of moved here, there could have been a window where maybe I could have spent more time. Like when I was really starting to get into entrepreneurship, I'm doing that so much and I'm gone. And like at that time, that's when Logan was playing soccer and Landon was just coming of age where he could play it. I missed a game or two here. And so I could see where in those moments, you know, it may not have been anywhere near equitable and not fair. So she would probably say that. And as I look back, I can see it now, but we've caught and come full circle where I am there way more than I used to because of, you know, of course, again, like we had to learn marriage, had to learn entrepreneurship. And as I learned and got settled and could, you know, organize my time better to make sure that the family's included. And as the kids got bigger as well, they were, you know, they were with me more, you know, no big deal. So yeah, but no, never any jealousy when the babies were born at all. Nah, and we still had our time. And we've gotten even better at that as the years have progressed. And we can't wait. We got 2 more years before we're empty nesters.
Listen, I was like, yay. And then come the next generation. You'd be like, wait a minute, hold up. Y'all sure
the grandbabies.
Yeah, you'd be like, wait, hold on. I just can put everybody out. What we doing? Like, get out of here. They just left. All right, so here's my question to you. Before all of this, how did you, I don't want to say choose your wife and know that that's your wife, but during the dating side, before you guys got married, prior to that, what were you attracted to in females?
I'm from Florida.
You said before, you was in Florida.
I said I'm from Florida. Oh, I thought that's my alarm. And okay. My phone's on silent, but the alarm still comes on no matter what. And if you wouldn't have said it was on, I just didn't even hear it. It was zoned out completely. Right.
Who were you attracted to? We taking it all the way back, rewind, because I have some questions here that people ask and I got to get them out real quick before I let you lovely people go. What were you attracted to say, okay, she's marriage material, besides your wife, prior to your wife?
Wow. You know what? I don't think I really knew, to be honest, because I never had that conversation with my dad. I didn't have that conversation with my mom. And I think naturally the first thing that you look for in someone you would want to consider your mother is, to be honest, how much they kind of resemble your mom in their actions.
Okay.
Because that's really your first example, right? There's some, I don't mean you want someone who's just like mom, but there are certain characteristics you can see. And if your mom handled, like, for example, if your mother was somebody who was not necessarily good with finances, but was real good at mitigating and keeping the family organized and always together, you're going to want to see that in your own household.
But you don't even know that yet. Look,
you don't. This is true. You don't. But and this is why the courtship part comes back, though. Like how you said, Ron said he knew his wife, though, for a year. You know, Teek said he knew his wife for several years. Without knowing somebody in advance, I don't know how you would, you know, where do you pull that from? Are you going to say, I want to be only other image I had before that, besides my mom and my aunts, would have been Claire Huxtable.
Okay.
I wanted to make sure my wife was like Claire Huxtable.
Okay.
You know what I mean? If I was going to be honest, and I can't lie, Lori was a Claire Huxtable. She was a Claire. Now, you know, so that stuff is kind of how you would learn it. My mom, I knew how she was caring, how she was always willing to work. And, you know, that would be it. So does it have to be like mom? Nah. But I knew a little, but I didn't have a perfect picture of what I wanted wifey to be. I didn't know.
Okay. What about you, Tico?
Okay, I'll say this real quick, and I have to get off. But
not a problem.
For me, it was basically like my man just said, definitely Claire Huxtable. You know, because a woman who was smart, you know what I mean, and knew what she wanted to do and had a goal. I think that is like one of the most sexiest things that you could possibly ever see. Is a confident woman knowing what she wants to do. Number two, and this is going to probably trip y'all out, but Mrs. Ingalls from Little House on the Prairie. Wow. One of the things I liked about her was I remember one of the shows, they were low on money, and she was outside plowing the field. And he came home and he was like, "What are you doing? You don't plow the field." And she was like, "I just want you to know," basically, in other words, "that I had your back." And I thought that was such a good characteristic of a girl that was like, you know, I got your back. I don't have to do this. You know what I mean? I know you'll do it for me, but I got your back. You know what I mean? If you can't do it or whatever, you know what I mean? So a girl who got your back and that is confident and strong, man, I could do that all day. And I'm doing it 18 years.
Okay, listen, real quick, since I know you got to go. Aggressive women, is it a turn on or a turn off?
Aggressive, you know, when it comes to doing it
forcefully. That's not real aggressive with a plow, though.
Yeah, absolutely. It can be sexy and it can be a turn off. You know, when you say aggressively, that can mean taking something forcefully, you know. So if it's, you know, if you're in a relationship, you know what I mean? And, you know, when you're doing something forcefully, that could be sexy, right? But if it's something, say like a girl who wants to be with you and she's overbearing aggressive, you know what I mean? Well, when we gonna go out? Well, I thought we was gonna go out. Well, why you haven't called me yet? When you gonna call me? Like that's a turn off to me. You know what I mean? I like you confident. I like, you know what I mean, that you know what you want. And I like assertiveness, but aggressive to the point that it's, you know, crazy. No.
That's too much. All right, Tico, thanks for joining us.
All right, thank you.
Right.
Awesome. God bless you guys. Y'all take care.
And find out what you got going on next, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
All right, thanks.
All right.
All right, Ron, aggressive, turn on or turn off?
It's all good.
We talking prior to marriage.
Well, the main thing was work ethic for me. Like, what's the person's work ethic? Like,
okay.
You know, they have those kind of things. Like, if they're just aloof and they're like, well, you know, I'm more into, you know, like, have fun but be focused. But aggression. I mean, being aggressive is not a bad thing, especially when it can be aimed at accomplishing goals.
Okay. All right. What about you, Lester?
There definitely needs to be balance. And of course, before we got married, aggressive, I don't know if I really met but one woman prior that was aggressive.
What you run? What you like, ah?
No, I mean, I just don't, I only remember one person who I dated before meeting Lori that might have been aggressive. And even it wasn't so uber aggressive that it was a turnoff. But I can say now, looking at some of the women that I've been in contact with that are colleagues who are, you know, I'm 48, they're pushing 48, 50 themselves. They're not married. Uh-huh. And it's like they'll say they were dating somebody, oh, this person that work out. And I can look at them and I can tell some of them who are just too aggressive. And I don't mean aggressive in the point of, how can I put it? They're aggressive to a point where they know too much. And thus they can never take in. I guess that's the best way for me to say it. Like, you know, a full cup can't receive anything else in it. And there are a lot of women I've met here. Well, in that sense, it would definitely be, because what they're doing, and I've seen it, like I said, to many of my colleagues who can't find a man to be with them, and I'll hear the complaints, because a lot of them will come to me and speak when we're after work having a conversation, because they're like, well, Lester, how you and Lori been together this long? Da, 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 right? So we had these conversations, and I'm listening to them, and as I respond, and okay, this is something you should do a little bit different. It's always, okay, you don't want to listen.
That's why we are having this show, because you asked the question, but do you really want the answer?
No, and that's my point of saying the aggression in that sense is a negative. It's going to be totally a turnoff, because you're not ready to receive. You're only ready to say, this is how it's going to be. This is what I want. This man has to be 6'1". He has to weigh da-da-da-da. He must make this much money. I saw a meme on Facebook today, it might have been this morning or yesterday, that said, gentlemen, if you can't afford to date a woman to take care of her because she shouldn't have anything to worry about, then you don't need to date a woman. I'm like, whoa. So that, to me, that would be a turnoff, because that means we're not going to work together at all. You're just telling me to be the one to go and slave and work the hours, but you get to sit back, and especially if you don't have kids, you get to just live off the honey of my work. It has to be more of a partnership. And a lot of times the aggressive women that I've seen that don't find a mate, their aggression is to hold so tightly on to not compromising. They're going to hold on to their way, and if it's not their way, it ain't going to happen. So the aggression in that standpoint, not necessarily being aggressive in, like, because I'll be honest, Lori, this is a joke, but it's the truth and the honesty of it. I saw Lori Cunningham a year before she saw me.
Okay.
However, I spoke to Lori Weaver that year before, and I saw her, but she don't remember me, but I remember her. I can tell her what she had on from head to toe to this day, and she'll laugh like, I remember that night. She's like, I remember that night. I'm like, I just don't remember it. Now, a year later, when she transfers to YSU and killed Carly, I'm just walking through the center, and she asked her cousin, who is he? Oh, that's Lester. You ain't see his name on his hat, because, you know, I had all my hats. Right. Oh, okay, I'll let y'all talk. So she sought me out when she didn't remember me from a year before.
That's on the female show. So tell Lori, I got her on the next show. She got to come on, and then we'll talk about what we know that y'all don't know.
Well, I say this, and I say this. No. To be honest, we are not hunters. Women choose men. I say that all the time.
But that's gonna be on our show.
Right. Right. We put the bait out there. Y'all decide which bait you want to take. So if you're gonna call me a hunter, but you decide which bait to take, I ain't really a hunter. The prey is deciding which thing it wants to take. I'm realistic enough to say it. That's all. I get it. But I'll tell Lori Weaver. I appreciate
that. What about Ron? You same question. What you on your phone? You cardying us up in this mud?
Nah, something came up I had to get my attention to. Could you restate the statement?
Let's talk about aggression.
Aggression is okay. This was one thing I wanted to say, because he was making some points where I could understand what was going on there.
What's attractive to you? As far as is aggressive attractive to you or not?
Yeah, I heard that part. Yeah, I think yeah, that's fine. I think like what happens sometimes is that, like, you have a really strong woman who thinks that she may have to give up her independence to a point where it changes who she is. Right. And that's not necessarily what she has to do at all. You know, I think depending on who the guy is that she chooses. But it's one of those things where, can you let go enough to, because I know I'm very set in my ways. So I look at it and say, well, what are the things that would hinder me from being in a relationship? What are those things that I need to change? And so, what are those things that I need to be more open to? And I think sometimes what happens is that we get so set in our ways, male or female, that we cut off that part of being more accepting to people. So you get like you must be this on that list for me to be with you and all that kind of stuff. And that's fine if you find that, you know what I mean? But are you open-minded enough to maybe that guy's 3 inches shorter than what you wanted, but he fits on another category. One thing that
but would it be settling?
It wouldn't necessarily be settling, because like one thing that I've learned that's been really embedded in me lately is that people having the openness to at least hear somebody out. You know, so I mean, like, is height arbitrary? You know, is it really important? I mean, it may be important if you got to reach get the jar of pickles off the top shelf, but does being taller make that person love you? Does it mean, oh, I'm taller, so I'm gonna love you more? No.
So when you get older, it's different. You have a different list of what it is that I'm going to deal with.
Yeah, but I also think like that. I mean, that list there too.
How do you get a husband? Let me hurry up because the show about to be. Look, I'm like, we moving. How do you get a husband? Because you guys, you're men. How do you get a husband over the age of 30? I got to get through these questions.
How do you get a husband when you're over the age of 30? Number one, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this first, jokingly, but I'm so serious. Stop going fishing in the same damn pond.
Boom.
Like if a woman always goes to the grocery store and that's the only place, I think of my man, I'm always in the produce section of the grocery store, and it ain't worked out for you yet. Stop going to the produce section of the grocery store. It's time to go somewhere else. Okay. And I guess one of the ways I can say that always sticks out to me is definitely in the celebrity world. You notice how many people date the same people they're all in the same industry. Like, let's just use, for example, Serena, right? Whether I am for or against interracial dating isn't the point. And she, though, would tell you that every man I had tried before her husband, they just didn't work. But if you look at it, she went to the entertainment industry for everybody she dated before she found her husband.
Okay.
Had she gone to a real estate mogul, someone who was at a business startup that wasn't from that industry, she may have found someone with the same skin complexion that she could have married and had the same positive outcome.
Okay.
But no matter what, she did go to a whole different pond, and she found someone that fit who wasn't from that entertainment pond, and he just also has a different skin tone. But notice, she had to leave that circle. They're going to have to get outside their comfort zone. You can't keep going to the same place expecting a different result. That's the definition of insanity.
Exactly. Okay, go ahead, you, Ron.
Just broaden that a little bit. Because he's right. I mean, it is about networking. You know what I mean? Like, and it's also too about like taking that chance. It's funny because I remember at one time I was not a proponent of people doing online dating or whatever. And I had a friend who told me, he was like, well, think about it like this. If you have a person who just goes to the produce section, or the opportunity for you to meet them is so slim, then, use other opportunities to be able to meet people. Mm-hmm. I just think social media, we're not talking about you're going to get married directly for meet those people, but at least you can start to have conversations and use the tools around you to be able to connect with the other people.
Okay. Is sex important?
Yes.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
What about switching bait though? Because there's a lot of women who will what is it? Bait and switch. There you go. It's like, okay, I got you. This is what's going on prior to us being married. And then you get with the person and then there's none.
I think on that one though, you still have to be fair as the man, as the guy. And sit back and see what is y'all's lifestyle though now. Like before, if you were carefree, if you think about it, college students,
right.
But then you have a house, you got a job, y'all got to go to work, you got to take care of the kids, you got to pay bills. That's a whole different lifestyle. So you have to be willing, no matter how high your libido is, you have to be understanding. And again, that's that key word. Compromise. You've got to be willing to compromise and not be too selfish. Have I ever been selfish in the 23 years? Like, I'm going to sleep and I got a wood on. Yeah, I have. That's not smart. But at the same time, had to start understanding, okay, all right, back off a little bit. You can't always get your own way. And if I'm not always going to get my own way, it's not settling. It's learning to mature and grow to compromise.
Okay. Now here's another one. Now there's a saying that for the woman, if you get her mind, the body will follow. Do you ever consider that? And if it changed, if this, your sex life end up changing and you're like, okay, before we used to be like this and now we're like this. Do you ever think that, oh, okay, what am I doing different? Instead of just like where the female be like, oh, okay, no, I'm not interested. Or yes, you know what I mean? She's open to it. No pun intended. She's open to you versus when she's closed to you. Do you ever look at or consider, what am I doing different that she's not open to me? Go ahead.
Ron, you want to take that one? I mean,
I think, okay, I think I know what you're saying, but I'm not sure. But I would say that when it comes to, because you're saying being like, you're saying that she's not as
attractive. So she's not as open to wanting to have relations.
To wanting to have sex with you, and then you have an attitude about it. But you never, do you look at like, well, what was I doing different that when she was open to me? Do you ever look at yourself in the mirror and say, okay, things have changed, instead of getting the attitude as to her not actually coming into play?
Well, I think the thing is, I think that the ultimate thing is that person happy? And not necessarily saying happy that where they didn't want to step out or anything like that, but have you tried to connect? Like, have you tried to connect not only physically but emotionally?
That's what I'm asking. That's it.
That's important. But I wouldn't see. I think the misconception is that it's always put on like women. Like, I think that's for anybody. Who wants to be with somebody physically if you can't stand them emotionally? You know what I mean?
That's my question. So do you as a male, if and we're not talking about your spouse, I'm talking prior to, these are just basic questions being a male on the panel. Mm-hmm. Do you look at, you're like, okay, well, she's not interested in having sex with me. Do you look at what's different? What's the dynamics? How did they change? How did the dynamics change? Is it me? That's a question. Did you look at yourself?
Prior to? Nah.
Yeah.
Prior to? No, because there's too many fish in the sea, as you would say. Prior to? Nah. And that's the bad thing. I see with young men all the time in the schools and stuff that I teach, because I've said this for years. If y'all ever want to see an end to men sagging pants, all women got to do is say, I ain't going to give you none.
Okay.
Pull them up. I'll be honest. But since women continually, and this could be the part where you can look at it settling. When a woman over 35 wants to date a guy so bad because she needs somebody, and this is a grown man, but he looks like a boy in his attire, he's sagging. We're talking a gentleman who's 35 to 45 years old, but they're sagging. You dropped your standards. You lowered your standards, and you accepted that. What do you want?
It's not going to change. So exactly. You're saying that we have the power.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Y'all have the power. Power starts with a P, and so does the power, which is that other thing. I'm just going to keep it real.
True. Okay.
If you use it the right way, yeah. You use it the right way.
So here's the thing, and I'm sure you've seen, especially being an instructor, where women, like you said, are settling, and now it seems like the roles are reversing, where the women are, and I'm sorry, I'm just gonna put it out there, like the women are the head of the house. Like, how does that work? And these are older men that are living off of women who aren't working. Oh, let me take that back. They're construction workers. Okay. They construction workers. And I use the air quotes loosely, real loose, but it's like, why? And it seems like you pretty much answered it, because they're accepting it. But how does a man feel? And you guys being, you, Tico, and Ron, being professional men, how would that make you feel? That some woman is sitting there, she bringing home the bacon, she frying it up in the pan, and like all you got to do is stand there and you have a wood. All you got to do is just do your part. Like, how is the role reversed? And I don't understand.
Ron?
I'm confident enough in my masculinity to let a woman make all the money. And I will stay home and do what I need to do. Like when I hear that kind of question, it reminds me when I was
and he is professional. Let me put that out there. He has his stuff together. But go ahead.
Like, okay, like for example, I had a friend in college. We were talking about this, and he said I couldn't date a woman who made more money than him. That's what he said, right? And I said, so you ain't dating no supermodels. You ain't dating no actresses. You're not dating any like political like heads or anything like that. You're not dating any CEO. So you wiping out all these women. And I'm saying this based off of, I don't know how much money he makes, but the point is, I'm saying like, if a person is making, like say $1 million, hell, they're making more money than me in 10 years probably. But the point I'm saying is, like it's like one of those.
He just lowered his list. His list is short.
Yeah, he lowered his list. So it's like, so what do you want? But the point is that like I shouldn't get upset because someone like I shouldn't feel less of a man because that person makes money to say, hey, don't schedule anything. We're going to, whatever for a month, right?
If roles were reversed.
Yeah, I mean, why would that be an issue? Just
I'm gonna tell you why it's an issue, because he's a construction worker. Go ahead, Lester.
Well, I mean, for me,
all year round.
There's a give and take about that, right? Like Lori has made more money for me for a long time because we're both in education. I do not want to be an administrator. And in education, the only way to make more money is to go farther in debt. I got to go get a master's, I got to get this. And Lori has like a doctorate, and that's why she's an assistant principal. So she makes more money than me in our professional positions, right? However, that's never changed our roles in our relationship or within our family dynamic.
Okay.
On top of that, I'm also hustling. So I'm always making money at the same time. Like she makes more than I do in our professional positions. But when we look at all the things I do on the side, I probably bring in more than she does. I don't think if she made more than me and there was no way I could catch up, that it would be a deal breaker. No, but there has to still be a certain understanding and respect and working between the two. Like Stedman and Oprah, while they've never gotten married, maybe she just makes so much, which is too much for him, right? In his own head. But as long as you still got that open communication, it shouldn't be a problem. But as you talk about the role reversals, that's really more so systemic stuff when the Black woman jumped in on feminism, and that was a backfiring plan for our, us as a people group. And that has a large part to play in it. And, for us, there's so many other things that have now allowed women to have more opportunities. And over time, I want to say the Black man has been beaten down so much that when they get someone that says, oh, look, I got it, some of them take that and just totally kick back. They don't even try to fight anymore. And if a woman's willing to carry them like that, she gets what she chose. Because when we said, you all choose. However, that man, I myself would still have enough fortitude in me. I'm not going to just sit home and not bring something to the table. I refuse not to bring. You can make more than me, but I'm not going to sit in the house and just watch soap operas all day and fold clothes and have a total reversal. And no, as a man, you're supposed to be doing something other than, in my opinion, than just sitting at home. Even if you are taking care of the kids, you should be still doing something to bring, if it's day trading, something, but just to sit back and let the woman fully take the lead and be the complete breadwinner. And if it's also the same in the dynamics in the house, oh no, ain't that no. If that's what's happening in a woman's household, she got her a boy to fill her man needs in the bed. But that relationship, she is a mama taking care of a boy. Okay. In my opinion.
Now I have a couple that was together, and I'm gonna go ahead because we about done. But this is what she said. He came in the house. He wasn't working. He came in the house, and he had a problem with being the head of the house. He wanted to be the head of the household. And what was happening is she was working, and then she found herself, paying the bills and doing all the man and telling him, like you said, a boy, end up telling him what to do. And then finally he said, hold it. Now, I want to say they were married, probably, don't quote me on it, maybe like 10 to 12 years. And he said, I am the man of this house. Guess what she did? She called her job, true story. She called her job She said, I quit. She quit her job and she told him, head this mother effer up then. Now, that was it. How he felt, he was like, huh? It was like sink or swim, because he kept complaining because he wasn't working and he was packing her lunch. She was working 2 jobs. He didn't understand, and we were cool, you know. He didn't understand why she was upset. Well, you're at home watching soap operas and you're passing her lunch from one job, and then she comes home, hop in the shower, change clothes. He's passing her next. So she was like, I do everything. I don't understand. And then when she said something about his manhood, I guess whatever it was that she said, he was like, hey, listen, I'm the man of this house. I'm the head of this house. And she called her job and she told him, she was like, I quit. She was the only income. Called them both. I quit, and then gave him the keys and said, head this mother up then.
See, that sounds like a respect thing that was probably taking place. And it could have been in his own mind, because, you know, they say that we see others as we see ourselves. So if he was feeling already beaten down, and she may have said a few things here, and maybe she didn't. They both handled that wrong, though, because now they have a household with no income because she wanted to prove a point, which was bad. And he, at the same time, was trying to prove a point, and he may have done it in the wrong way. Because I remember hearing my mom talk about a girlfriend one time and said that her husband had gone out and before he got home from work, he had went to the casino and he lost all the money. And there was another one had the same issue. But the way that the woman handled in both situations was totally different. In one household, the woman totally tore the man down.
Okay.
And it led to a downward spiral. In the other one, it was like, okay, you know that you were wrong. You can't do that. You're the head of the household. You're a part of this family. We depend on you. You can't just go do what you want to do and put the rest of us at risk. So you can have that conversation in 2 different ways. And both men would have taken it in 2 different ways. So that comes down to that communication piece over and over and over again. And I know for men, a lot of times, just because of the traditional dynamic, you can almost do anything you want to a man until you finally disrespect him.
Now, this is my next question, and this is the last one, okay? The next question. Once a female calls a man a B, do you marry her?
Ron, I've never had a woman call me a B, so my wife is across the room right now, and we've never done that to each other.
But I'm sure before her,
it wouldn't have worked.
Nah.
A woman would not call me a B, and we getting together. That ain't gonna happen. That ain't what. Okay. Like I put it on Facebook about 2 years ago. I heard a woman say to a dude, she said, suck my, I'm like, wait a minute. First off, you don't have one of those. But for you to have to let your ovaries drop in the place of testicles and tell a man who has testicles, suck, I'm like, I'm puzzled, but I get it. And no, we can't be together. That ain't gonna, that ain't,
that's a deal breaker.
No, that ain't happening. No.
Okay, go ahead, Ron.
I never had that happen, but my thoughts would be, if she feels that strongly about the situation, it may trigger him to have a reality check about, hey, am I really, like, how am I acting, about with the situation? But I think at that point in time that she's already made the decision not to be with the person. It's just she doesn't have the gumption to kick him out.
Now, here's the thing. When that incident occurred, when the female called the guy out of his name, it was he gave an excuse. She's going through a lot, and still pursued that relationship. Now, I don't know, because I'm not a man. That's why I'm asking y'all these here questions. If a female called you out of your name, would that be a deal breaker? That's why I'm asking that question.
I guess it would depend on the full context. Because if we're supposed to be building a relationship together and something doesn't go the way you want it or you expected it to go, notice what I said, it's not going the way you expected it to go. And for that, you call me a B, Oh no, it's a wrap. I can see if I'm working towards something and there's a setback and you're understanding, you don't call me that. But if I'm working towards it, but it's not going the way you want, and you call me a B, oh no, ain't no sense in us being together. Because I'm never gonna call you out your name as a woman. So you definitely ain't finna call me a B as a woman, and I'm a man. I'm Lori Weaver's across the room right now. She'll tell you I've never called her out of her name in 28 years.
And by rights to me, you shouldn't. But this is
right. So why would a woman call me out of my name and call me a female dog and I'm supposed to ride with it? Hell no.
Oh, but I got Kim Ham, the go-to girl. She is the life coach. I had to hurry up and get you on, but hey, the conversation was getting good. I had to answer these here questions.
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
I also have Miss Gypsy Rain, Candy Mozzie. She's in Atlanta, the ATL. You know, so we're doing it up in here. We got 2 ATLs up here. It's my hip hop girl, okay? To tell us. Okay. And I need you, Candy, to tell us about this CMOS too. So hold on one second. Let me get Kim's. Kim, what's your response to that when a female call a male? What's your thoughts from a female perspective? And being a life coach, and do you think that that relationship could sustain?
Well, I go exactly to, okay, Lester, is that his name?
Yes.
Okay, Lester, great to meet you. Awesome, awesome feedback. Because when he said, call me out my name, what he was basically saying, it could be a B word, the M, F, all kinds of other names. If you can't fight fair in a relationship, that's a problem before you start even getting to the B word and the MF and all of that. There's a process in a relationship called fair exchange. And when you allow fair exchange to fall by the wayside and you're starting to defend your femininity, your masculinity, and your role, there's a problem long before the argument started. The argument is the result of a seed that was already planted, if that is the only way you know how to express yourself when you are frustrated.
Right.
So you don't think that that relationship will last? If you were coaching
it's going to have issues outside of being called the B word. Relationships are built on perceptions and definitions. For example, when we talk about the head of the household, what exactly does that mean? Is it the person who's bringing in the most money? Is it the person who knows what to do with the money? Because the breadwinner is not always the money manager. So when we say we're going to build a home, and this is the head, and this is, what does that mean? And when you start to say, well, the relationship is strong only because of the person bringing in the most money, then you have to ask yourself before you even get involved in a relationship. Like when Ron said, this person he knew said he would never get involved with a person who made more money than him. Although that might seem small-minded to someone else, that is good insight. Don't do it because it's not going to work. So when you feel strongly enough to call the person in your relationship a B, then you feel strongly enough to watch him walk away. And if he feels strongly enough to accept that, that's almost like the I'll hit you this time, but I'll never hit you again syndrome. If you don't learn how to manage your emotions and look at things from a perspective with respect for that other person, no matter what the circumstances, then no, the relationship is already in trouble.
Okay, that's Kim Ham, the go-to girl. And hey, if you guys want to reach out to Kim Ham, the go-to girl, you can reach her at KimHam, All right, that's my girl right there. She gonna bring it all together. What? Look at Ron. Ron up here trying to Connie us. You see that?
I'm paying attention. It's just so much going on, man. It's a lot.
It's a lot. Hey, I appreciate you guys. If you want to hang out with us, you're more than welcome. I know that you have a lot to do because I have my professional men on the panel today, okay? Let us know what's going on. These women want to know, what do I need to do to get a husband? And they asked me these lovely questions to present to you, lovely gentlemen. Shout out to Roger Trent, Lester Weaver, and Ron Shea. We got for giving that insight. Being married, trying to find a husband over 30, being professional. Lester said it already. You got to pull up your pants. Once we actually say enough is enough, then guess what? Then they'll say, okay, well, that's not attractive to her. So let me pull up my pants. I'm trying to get her attention. You are absolutely right. Because honestly, even walking on the street, when somebody says to me, they say, what's up? I can't fool with you. I cannot. And it was one guy that liked me, and this is how he said it. This was many years ago. He was like, "Where's that?" Well, it wasn't that long ago. He was like, "Where's that?" I was like, "What? Like, how old are we?" Guess what? I immediately, boom, because I can't take you to the company Christmas party.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, you might be at the table, and people don't understand. This is so true that whoever you are connected to, I don't take people to. I've been in a long-term relationship. Kim no, Ron no, you know what I mean? But I won't tell people who I'm with. To me, if you're closer to me and my family, you know, and it's okay. But it's so interesting that everyone outside want to know who this is. You want to know why? Because they want to know who I am. And who you are connected to, regardless, I don't care who you are, they'll see, oh, okay, this is the type of person she likes, so there has to be something in common there. That's why I don't take people to the Christmas party. He talk about something. Where's that? I was like, boom, I can't take you to the Christmas party. You had to say when I go to the bathroom. I'm like, we are going to the bathroom. Like, you got during that time, that's when they're drilling and they're learning the individual that you're with. And they're like, oh, okay. And whoever you are connected to, that's how they kind of make a perception of who you are, regardless. It's like, oh, okay, this is, yeah, there you go. And guys don't know when you are, since I brought up the Christmas party, when you're at a dinner, and some of the men, they just don't get it. You have to, you must, or it's going to be an issue. You must open the door or pull out the chair of who you're with first, not somebody else. You can be a gentleman, but I'm going to need you to be gentle after me, okay? Open the door for me. A lot of guys don't know that. And to me, just like pumping the gas, my homeboy, we cool to this day. I didn't know that he likes me. You know why I didn't know he likes me? Because this brother, great guy, I pull up at the gas. I was like, hey, ride with me. Got it. I pay because I said ride with me, but I didn't know he liked me. Pull up at the gas station. Guess what? I went in to pay. This guy still got his seatbelt on. That ain't gonna work. And he was grown, and you know he had the nerve to tell me, bless his heart, he told me that he didn't know. Well, I'm sorry that you didn't know, but I'm not gonna give you a chance. Because you should know by a certain age, if I'm going here paying, you should be out the car rate. Like, you still got your seatbelt on, sir. So you had no intentions of pumping my gas. And I asked him, and I said, Kim, I think you remember this. Did I tell you?
Yes, you did.
Okay. And I'm like, do you pump your mom's gas? And that's what the whole thing. And he told me yes, which meant to me, you don't respect me enough. And I don't want to take your mom's place, but you respect your mother. I'm not in that place because you had no intention of pumping my gas, but you wouldn't want your mother out there.
Right.
So I already knew that's a no-go. And guess what? He a professional too now. You know what I'm saying? But he is so focused on him, and he didn't see it. But guess what? I'm not in the respect level as your mom. This ain't gonna work. And to this day, he was like, I didn't know you were. Boom. You gotta talk to somebody younger. One of them little pop lock twerking chicks that might be okay with the seatbelt on. Okay, might be okay with pumping her own gas with her little mini skirt on. Gypsy Rain. What's going on in the ATL?
Hey, you know what it is. Small business, black business, black, right? Justice. That's what's going on in Atlanta. But you know, that should be going on in Atlanta, right? And that's what it is. So I'm in here with the CMOS and can't wait to tell you about it. That's the main thing.
Okay.
And so CMOS, the way that I discovered CMOS was networking with a gentleman from Barbados. And they were just talking, and I was doing some embroidery, and so I overheard them. So I was just in a group of people who were talking about it. The next day, he came back and gave all of us some CMOS.
Okay, so wait 1 second. The CMOS, is CMOS gel?
Yes, now the CMOS gel is I created.
Okay.
He gave me the raw CMOS from the water after it was dried out from Jamaica.
So what does it do for you?
CMOS has so many vitamins, minerals, and everything that the body needs, up to 92.
Okay.
Up to 92. So what it does for me, I suffer from inflammation, pain sometimes, and circulation. So when I started taking it, it immediately went away. Because I do a lot of work with my arms, so I had some like pain in my arms, and then holding water, it runs in my family. So all of that. So when I took it, I noticed this burst of energy. I put it in the smoothie. After I made it, I put it in the smoothie, and then I saw that I had this burst of energy that day.
Okay, so it's edible.
Oh yes, edible. You can put it on your face. You can take a bath in it. You can, women, men, the libido out of control. And I believe that it does that for our bodies, because once you have everything you need for the day and it's pulling, your body begins to pull from it, even your skin will. Everything that it needs. Collagen is in there. We got potassium, vitamin C, D, E. You know what I mean? It's all in there. And it's just a whole list of benefits and different ways people are using it. I get it raw from Jamaica. I put it and soak it, get the sand off, get all of anything from the sea off, and do like a 24 to 48 hour soak with my sea moss. And then I prepare it my own special way with an aloe base for some people. Some people don't like aloe, but I use aloe because aloe is alkaline. Mm-hmm. And so instead of distilled water or alkaline water, I thought aloe would be a nice enrichment to it. Plus, you want to cut it too. And I'll tell you why.
Go ahead.
Because it has iodine as well. And so we have some people who are just taking sea moss because it's popular, but they have a regular diet. So
it's popular.
Right. Say you eat salty stuff and stuff. So it's very dangerous if you have too much salt already there. But there is a certain amount of iodine that the body needs. So you have to cut back on your salt from these other foods and let the sea moss give it to you. And mostly through fasting and detoxing is why I like it. And when you're watching really what you're eating, because this could be your meal in the morning. They put it in their tea, smoothies. Some people have journeyed off to making recipes with sea moss because it has no flavor. I have a new thing that I heard about, so I tried it, and we have the strawberry sea moss, which would obviously go good in a smoothie. Sea moss has no flavor, and it has the smell of the ocean, and not the smell of fish. The smell of the ocean.
I'm glad you said that, because you know I was going there. I'm like, well, wait a minute.
Right. You think, well, I'm gonna.
Can I ask you this? With the sea moss, and you said that it has the smell of the sea. Can you use that just as a scent in your room?
No, it's very, very faint. You can barely smell it. You smell it because you're looking for it. When I open a bottle, it doesn't hit me with the ocean. Now, if I go and try to get it, it's really, really faint. It really doesn't have a smell. It really doesn't have a taste, but it has the texture. Many people like the gel, of course, but like even this bottle, I don't know if you can see, it's a little bit more round.
Okay, I see
this bottle right here, I use for decongestion.
Decongestion. Okay.
They got that stuffiness going on. Take this in the morning with your tea, and they don't have it anymore. It kills mucus, for lack of a better word. So I believe COVID-19 and the pandemic caused this to be a great thing to add to my business, but we were doing it before, which I thought was awesome. It's like we were preparing for something coming, which was weird.
How can somebody, if they're interested in ordering that from you, how can they reach you?
Because I love helping people, I chose to use sea moss as that outlet. You know, I'm always telling people their businesses and stuff, but sorry, because I'm on Shoptalkwithmel, I gotta say, people don't support me like that. Nobody's doing what I do. So I said, I'm gonna watch how much energy I'm giving out to people. And so I decided to use the sea moss as my giving. So getting to the point, I do it at Gypsy Brain on Instagram. I keep it simple because it's one-on-one. They ask, what is it? Does it help this? You know, I'm talking with people. I'm not a doctor. I'm very worried about the iodine. My husband is very upset that he can't try it because he's allergic to sulfur. Sulfur is in here. And the internet has all this information about sea moss, so there's no reason to feel uninformed about sea moss. And I giggle when people ask me because it's like, you can just look that up, really. But I love to inform people. There's no problem with informing.
I will tell you from, a people perspective, we'll call you and we want to try your product, but we do ask those questions of you. You know what I mean? If I have high blood pressure,
Yeah.
I'm glad you did state that you're not a doctor, so they do have to actually research it for themselves. Now, I will put this out here because this is factual. The internet, yes, we do have that, but you have to read into it, because I can put something on the internet and it doesn't have to be true. It's not evidence-based. I have to actually put that out there. So anybody can put something on the internet. You have to be careful what it is that you're reading on the internet, because it's not always true. Because long story short, you can sit there, look something up, you've even had every single diagnosis in the world messing around with the doggone internet. So
and that's what I'm cautious of, and I'm able to protect myself, as a company from something like that, because I would feel horrible. But I haven't gotten that. And even
good. So you have positive feedback?
Always. This
now
week
tell
is
me
my
this,
first
if
time.
they don't have Instagram, how else can we contact you?
I can give a phone number.
Please.
But let me spell, just in case somebody's watching, and when they do watch, at JIPCREIGN, at Gypsy Rain is the best way to get it. Another way I can get is our business line, which is 770-837-8801.
One more time.
770-837-8801.
All right, that's Gypsy Rain in your lap. Facebook. Okay, Gypsy Rain, in your lap. You got to check that out. She's been doing everything for a long time, doing it. Very talented young lady.
And so this is new too. I just want to say, and it came to me. I think it just, I feel like, for lack of better words, the universe, I feel like God knew who could handle this. I believe that I am saving lives by helping. I wanted to say before we hung up, this was the first week that I had some COVID-19 victims ask for something. But for them to call me back as soon as they get it and just say, I love it. It always surprises me. I'm like, what are they feeling? What are they? So I'm going to begin to put that too on a podcast called Be Seated. Is where I want to talk about.
What's the podcast one more time? Because you're breaking up really bad.
The podcast is called Be Seated.
Okay.
Yes,
and like some more information, go to the Shop Talk with Mel page, and I'll put that out there for you.
Okay.
Yes, Gypsy Rain is doing it big in your lap, the ATL. Don't be hanging up, because we're gonna sit there. We gotta finish this conversation. So it's up to you. If you have time, hang out with us. If you don't, I totally understand. Okay. Again, I want to thank our male panel that we had today. Lester Weaver out of the ATL. We had Roger Trent out of Nashville, Tennessee, and we had our own Ron Shad right here up north. We had the Southern boys. We had the up north young man, the up north boy. What's the difference? Now, I did talk to a friend of mine from Baton Rouge who couldn't come on because he had to work, and that's a Southern guy. He actually went into detail, and he was sharing with me that up north women are different than down south women. Now, and I said, well, what's the difference? And he told me that up north women take care of their men. Down south women, the male takes care of them. You know what I mean? And I said, what do you mean? He said, yeah, I'm gonna have to come up. And he got that accent. He's like, yeah, man, I'm gonna have to come up north and find me a woman, because they take care of them and I can just sit and relax. He's like, down here, I got to go to work every day, you know, to take care of their women. So that's like becoming the norm. I don't think that's okay. How you feel about that, Kim?
First of all, I don't want people to look at that as a generalization, because there are people up north who take care of, their men take care of the women, and there are people in the South where the women take care of the men. However, I can understand where the mindset comes from, because if you look traditionally at us culturally from the South, it was the man who went out and took care of the family. It was the man who went out and made sure that, the family had what it needed, and the woman did stay at home and take care of the family. So when I look back at older couples, that's what it was supposed to be like. However, as times have changed, and because I'm in the North more than I'm in the South, I can't see it. But younger women, yeah, they're okay with taking care of a man if that is what gives them one. I actually knew a woman, and she was a very beautiful woman, educated woman. She's been married now about 6 times. And every single time she was the one taking care of her husband, because she said she'd rather take care of one than to not have one. So as far as geographically, I can't speak to that, but I can ideally see where that would come from.
Now, with that, down in Atlanta, do you see that a lot? And that's down south. Do you see that a lot where the females are now taking care of males? Or, and I don't even want to say that. Let's go with the generation. Let's go with the generation, because, and we'll go with the 30 and below versus the 30 and above.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Okay, good.
Yes.
Yeah, in Atlanta, the women are very independent. We're talking 30 under, and they want to be taken care of.
Okay.
Yes, I think it has to do with larger cities, because New York is like that too. And you know, just from hip hop culture and everything, New York guys are raised knowing you will take care of the women. The first thing they say if you walk by and your hair is cute with earrings, I want to get you some shoes to go with them. You know, they know. Yes. And in Atlanta, they want it, but they're not getting it. So that's where that independence comes from. You know, that's where all this extra hair, extra look comes from that the man doesn't even like, right? We know men don't like all of that. So why are they doing it? We're talking 30 under, right? So that's how I feel. I feel up north, I think women are understanding the Black man's plight. The Black man has a plight he's dealing with. And I think women there can more understand it for some reason going up north. But like the larger cities, it's like, you know, the men have to, you know, hold it down. But like in Atlanta, there's a loss, something going on about how they're raised. That's all I want to say. It starts very early.
Okay,
as compared to New York guys.
30 and over, we watch the television shows and we see that it's the nails, like you brought that up, the nails, the hair, and all that extra stuff. Ron, Rugo, he Rugo now. Look, the time change, he Rugo.
No, let me change my name real quick.
How do you feel about the hair and the nails and all the commercial things that's, you know, you see these women, because I see some older ones that's transitioning as well, where they have all the hair and the nails and they're doing what's on television. How do you feel about that? Is that attractive to you?
I think that the thing that becomes unattractive about something is when it consumes that person's life. I remember, for example, I dated a woman, she went to get her hair done every week.
I can't hear you.
I would date a woman, she went to get her hair done every week, right?
Okay.
So it was like, so one day she said, well, hey, the lady she did my hair for free. I was like, well, you gave her like $4,000 over the last year. So yeah, you deserve a freebie, right? Right. And it was like, you know, I think the thing is like when people, and she wasn't one of these people, but I've seen people put their person, they put how they look over their responsibilities. And I think that's a real turnoff. So if you got the extra money and you want to do what you want to do with it, that's great. But like if you got your hair and nails done and your kids looking raggedy, that's an issue. You know what I mean? I feel though too, like when we were talking about 30 and under, I really think those people should be more invested in identifying who they want to be. And sometimes it's difficult because things become trendy, like the pop culture things that Candy Rain talked about. You know, those influence people in sometimes a very negative way. But I think once you get over 30, you've had that chance to kind of feel out who you are, and you're trying to be more dedicated to what you value intrinsically. The beautiful part about all of this stuff is that once you become more engaged in knowing who you are, hopefully you can share that in a helpful way with other people as you seek out relationships and that sort of thing. I did, like, there was something that was mentioned about back in the day You know, back in the day, the workforce was very different. You know, it was majority white men, and then if you were lucky enough as a black man to be able to get a job, then yeah, you had that ability to be in a household. And I think right now what's happening is that like we've been in a situation where it's like everybody has to go for what they know. If that's going for education to get this particular job, to have a particular lifestyle, and that's what it is. I just think that sometimes we have to understand that even if we have that go forward attitude, we can't bring back destructive qualities. Don't perpetuate the destructive qualities that drive you to be successful.
Okay. Hey, Kim, look what he got for Father's Day.
I see it. I was like, wait a minute, is he rocking in the recliner?
Yeah, and I can, and it's weird because like I feel like I need somewhere, like I wanted to sit at the table, but it's not enough natural light coming in the house, so it's real dark, right? But when you be lounging, like I'm having a hard time focusing. My phone's beeping. I'm looking down, changing the. I'm like, this is bad. I have to get rid of this thing, man. It's bad. I mean, it's good, but it's bad. You know, it's like Jason the Argonauts and stuff with the sirens and all that stuff. You just be like, hey, you wake up like, how long we been here? Oh, we've been here for like 20 years. What? I thought we was just here for 2 days. You know.
When you go Shop Talk you a chair.
Shop Talk me a chair. That just means I got a whole bunch of ear hustlers or Shop Talk. Like
it works.
Yeah, that is cool. Well, happy Father's Day to you.
I didn't even know I wanted it until I got it. I was like, how can I live without it?
When you mentioned it, no, Kim, I think you started it, didn't you?
Yes.
And look at there, ask and it shall be given. Did you get any socks?
No, I didn't get any socks, but my socks were washed though, so that's a good thing, right?
Hey, you doing it up. What's happening? Do you let me do it the right way. Rugo.
All right.
So hold on 1 second. We gotta do it the right way.
There it is.
There it is. Hey, Rugo, what's happening in the movie world?
Well, the biggest news in Hollywood these days is that Michael Keaton is coming back to reprise his role as Batman. Now, like the take is going to be that they're going to probably like use him as an older character or whatever. But there's a few different things they can use. Batman Returns, The Dark Knight Returns. The Dark Knight Returns was a comic book written by Frank Miller that could be adapted, or there's some other aspects and things they can go. But that's the most exciting thing. The other thing is that Mulan has now had the Disney cartoon Mulan. They're making it to a live action movie. And that live action movie was supposed to come out in March, but COVID changed the world. Now, Disney is going to release Mulan on, I think, August 21st. And the important thing about this is that they're not trying to do it at a holiday time or anything like that. And I don't really understand. Well, I think one thing would be we may be in a situation where Hollywood goes back to what they used to do. Release a movie and it's in the theaters for a long time, because that's the only way they're going to be able to get the revenue. If there's social distancing, people being afraid to go to the movies, or do it simultaneously, release the movie and have it accessed via some sort of other technological intervention, I guess. I don't know what I'm saying today. But
God, that's because you got that recliner. You too relaxed.
It's messing with my mind.
That recliner.
Like I gotta lean up. Back, Hey, look, and they got the electric tilt with the headrest and all that, and they got a what's that thing up here?
The massager.
Point for your phone.
Oh, okay. We have to call you Rugo the recliner guy.
Rugo the recliner guy. Rugo.
Hey, listen, I usually do Mel's medical moments. Gypsy Rain handled that part with me with the CMOS. So with the CMOS, again, give us the phone number.
The phone number again is 770-837-8801. And Instagram at Gypsy Rain, Facebook at Gypsy Rain. You can find me. It's here. I don't want to set up websites and stuff. It's going well. Hit me up and I can get it to your door. And I've been doing that. I'm very excited.
Awesome, awesome. It seems like a lot of people are doing a lot of things from home. They're cutting down that overhead, like you actually suggested, Kim, when you start a business, to cut down the overhead.
Yes.
And then with the whole COVID-19 going on, that's what people had to do anyway, because they were shutting stuff down.
Oh,
Right.
people are starting to restructure business because they learned what they could do when COVID-19 started.
Yes, I love it. I mean, not the COVID-19, but the restructuring is good.
Right. It made us all wake up. It made us all wake up and find out what is important. Hold on 1 second, lovely people. I got to do it.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Candy. I'm Tom. And you're listening to Shop Talk with Mel.
Just in case you did not know.
Okay.
Just in case you did not know. Hey, I love you guys for listening. This is Shop Talk with Mel every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. If you want to support the lovely podcast that I do have going on, you can catch me on YouTube at Shop Talk with Mel, and all the information is located below. Okay, so you can donate, and if you don't want to donate, that's okay too, because I am here to edutain you. Kim Ham, how can anybody contact you?
KimHam.theGoToGirl.com or KimHam.theGoToGirl at att.net.
That's the life coach, Kim Ham, the go-to girl. Hey, listen, once this thing start opening up and we are safe to go out, check out my girl, Kim Ham, the go-to girl, life coach. We about to do it. The plan is working.
Yes, it is.
And it's coming. Look, I got 8 more weeks, I think. 8 more weeks.
Yeah?
8 more. Listen, you write it down. Like my mom said, write it down, make it plain. Once you write that goal down and you have that vision, because you have to see it, guess what? You can achieve it. And that's what I want you lovely people to do. So find you, embrace you. Most importantly, always, always love you. Until next week, people. Shut up. Right. We don't get it one day. Right here on your lovely spring.com. Also in your lap too, you can hear me. She has a podcast. I want you guys to know, Gypsy Rain, in case you don't know, it's in your lap. YOLAP. Google it, check her out. Hip hop culture. She'll let you know what's going on. All right?
Yeah.
All right. Again, I love you for listening. Do something great today. All right? Peace.